start his presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. Can you ask your technical person to put everybody on mute except me?
Okay,
And
sir.
also, because of limited bandwidth,
Yes,
they can also switch off their video, so that
yes,
it is not it is doesn't create any interference. So
the video is also blocked.
hello. Can you see my screen now? Hello?
Yes, sir, we can see that.
Yeah, Mahesh, I can.
Yes, I'm so happy to not only to see Dr. Ghanta Sunil, but also Dr. R.P. Gupta, the president of ICT Section 6, my dear friend, Dr. Krishna Nayak, Dr. Rajiv Chug, I can see him here. I'm looking for Dr. Doble and Dr. Ravindra Singh. I hope they're also connected somewhere. And as it is the launch activity in collaboration with GSL Dental College, Dr. Chandra Babu, its president, Dr. Hari Krishna, secretary, and Dr. Teja as the chairman CDE, and all my esteemed speaker colleagues. It's really a great pleasure, to be with you this afternoon, talking about artificial intelligence. Am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mahesh. Mahesh, you're audible.
Okay, so I don't know what happened and how Sunil gave me this topic, and this topic is really very close to my heart because, as a part of the university, I'm looking, I'm hearing that every field, every discipline is chasing efficiency today, chasing productivity. They want to be smart, in terms of work and in terms of output. And everybody is talking about artificial intelligence today, whether it is healthcare, industry, engineering, or education, or in so many other fields. And, by one estimate, it is said it's going to be 150 billion industry, 150 billion US industry in the next 5 years. And what is the currency of this industry? Do you know that? The currency is you and me. It's the human resource. It's their mind, it's their body, it's their behavior. Whatever they do, that is the currency. That is the data. What is going to be collected, collated, interpreted, and that is what is about artificial intelligence. And you will see that it's already making headwaves, it's making waves in healthcare, also in dentistry, and I think in times to come, it is going to touch every facet of human life. So let's start with the first slide, and I think we are talking about artificial intelligence, but there's nothing artificial about it. It's all made by humans, and it is all about our lives, and ultimately it is going to impact the community, the society. So there is nothing artificial about it. It's totally man-made. And so what is AI? AI is based on the idea that machines are capable of performing human tasks. I mean, you're looking for machines. What we are doing, so that can be done by machines, and that is what we mean by artificial intelligence. And there are many associated terms when we talk of artificial intelligence. We are talking of machine learning, deep learning, Internet of Things, big data, all those things I'm sure each one of us are familiar with. But let's see what is machine learning. Machine learning is something, as the name says, the machine learns. It learns from the data it has, the program it has within it, and it brings about intervention, which is which supposed to be done by a human being. So without any human intervention, it is carrying out the action. That is machine learning. And the best part of machine learning is that as the machine keeps on working, it becomes more intelligent because it gathers more and more data, and it uses that data intelligently, and that's how the future action of that machines is decided. And we also have a deep learning, which is much more complex data, which is available in multi-layers, which is a data which is abstract, which is obscure, which is not very clear. That is gathered by the machine and using mathematical algorithms or operations. It infers that data, complex data, and comes out with the action. So that's a deep learning. Then we also have another terms using cognitive computing. I'm sure each one of us are familiar with cognitive skills and cognitive thoughts, psychomotor skills, affective skills. So cognitive is something which comes from a brain. Only human beings have that cognitive skills, cognitive thoughts. So it simulates human processes, through image and speech interpretation, and responds accordingly. So that means that through AI, the machines have that ability, cognitive ability to compute things. Similarly, computer vision, that means a computer is able to decipher in photos, in text, in videos. Now, I just want to tell you that, whenever there is some riots or something, the police helps to collate that pictures, and then it's a computer which analyzes that visions and tries to locate or tries to identify who's that person. So that's like a computer vision. Similarly, another term which is used with AI is natural language processing, where the computer is able to analyze and generate human speech. So let's just see this video, and then we will go ahead.
The quest for artificial intelligence began more than 80 years ago.
I can perform 36 distinct acts.
The idea was that computer technology would one day be powerful enough to carry out tasks better and more efficiently than humans. Today, AI has come of age. It's already having an impact on many parts of human life, from self-driving cars to finding soulmates. But perhaps its greatest impact will be on medicine and the way we monitor human health. The doctor-patient relationship is a founding principle of healthcare and medicine. Some doctors in the West can spend up to twice as many hours on medical paperwork than with their patients. AI tools, such as speech recognition technology, that are now commonplace in homes, could be used in clinical settings for capturing data and notes, allowing doctors to concentrate on people. Trained on a huge resource of medical data, the power of AI learning can read some images more accurately than humans. Powerful machines can interpret scans 150 times faster than radiologists and can work 24 hours a day. AI can even suggest a diagnosis. Data is critical for improving our understanding of disease and illness. The more we understand, the better the chances of preventing, diagnosing, and curing. But currently, only about 5% of medical data is used effectively. Harnessed to wireless devices, AI could oversee every facet of people's health data, from family history to food intake to exercise. Constant AI monitoring could transform the most prolific diseases that demand the most care, such as diabetes. This would empower people to take charge of their own health. Caring for people outside of medical settings would not only prevent hospital-acquired disease, it could also save money.
If the clinical community stands up for patients and say all the power, efficiency, productivity, workflow from AI is going to be used to give the gift of time to doctors and nurses and patients, that's where we flip this thing and achieve a rescue mission for healthcare.
So I think this video has made it very clear, different applications of healthcare and how are we heading for future healthcare. But, technically, the AI has three arms. One arm is called machine learning. We just talked about it. The second arm is robotics. And the third arm is natural language processing. Now, let's see one by one how it how it impacts. Okay, so the first arm is machine learning. And machine learning is, as we just said, that when the machine automatically learns from its experience and it programs accordingly. In healthcare, we are using it for diagnosing the diseases at an early stage, and especially diseases which are hard to diagnose. And also, many times we are using machine learning to invent new drugs, drug discovery process, early stage drug discovery, and preclinical use of drugs, because a lot of drugs are, before they are used in clinical setting, they have been tried. So machine learning is used for that. The second arm of AI is natural language processing. When we are talking, the doctor is talking, the machine, the AI can make notes, so we save time. And also, this arm of AI can analyze the text data, which is there in our electronic health records, because slowly all our health records are going to be electronic. So it can work both ways. It can from text to speech and from speech to text. It can work both ways. And the third arm of AI is robotics. As you all know that a lot of tasks which are repetitive, which doesn't require very high level of cognitive skills, can be done by robots, and because it's much safer, less costly, and also I think less errors. Computers make much less errors, and we have a different kind of robots. The first is the surgical robot, which are used in surgeries. Nowadays we are using robots in many urology, bariatric, gynec, and other surgeries. We also have robots which are used for care of those who are elderly, invalid, persons with disabilities. And then we also use robots which are called exoskeletons, where unfortunately, if someone has lost a limb or requires rehabilitation, so we are using a kind of a robot which is trying to rehabilitate, especially when there are spinal cord injuries, strokes, or some limb disorders or limb amputations. All that is done. So let's look very hurriedly. What are the current applications of AI in healthcare? The first is prescription writing. If doctors can save time of prescriptions, I think that time can be utilized for clinical care. So we are using a lot of digital assistants today, which are making voice notes. And it's said that in times to come, this is going to grow many-fold. They said this market is going to grow almost 35% in the coming 5 years. And there are already many AI-powered voice-enabled digital assistants for doctors who make voice notes. And then it's also used for diagnostics, as I said, targeted diagnostics, early detection, enhanced clinical diagnosis, which are hard to diagnose. And also, when the time is important, especially in conditions which is life-threatening or time-sensitive condition, where, we know that we have a golden hour of a golden period of 3 minutes, and I think the decision has to be made very quickly. So these AI can assist the doctor. It is not replacing the doctor, but it can help the doctor to make that timely decision. And then also cancer detection. I mean, there was a study where a skin cancer, the machine, AI learned machine, went through 130,000 skin images, and vis-a-vis a 20 board-certified, highly qualified dermatologists, they tried to look at those cancers. Then it was found the machine did it much better, than those human beings. So similarly, lung cancer, all those screening can be done, especially where it is so much more important for early detection of these cancers. And also, so image analysis and diagnosis in so many areas in healthcare, GIT or cardiovascular, radiology, head and neck radiology, interventional radiology, and neuroradiology. So basically, I think it has really made a big headway in radiology section, in healthcare. And of course, it is now slowly percolating in other areas as well. And then, as we said, the question is whether it is going to replace radiologists or pathologists, AI. I don't think so, because they said that it is not going to replace them, but it is going to assist them so that they can perform those tasks much better, much quickly, much precisely, and without many errors. Similarly, as I just said, that lung diseases, lung cancer, where early detection is so important, AI is applied there. The surgical robots we are doing, we are being used today, where procedures which doesn't require any run of the mill actions, where something has to be done repeatedly. There it can be done with much more control. Areas where human hands cannot reach, the robot can reach, and the robots can also do it nicely because there are less hand tremors. You've seen that as surgeons become senior, they develop hand tremors or some unintentional movements, and that can really damage some structures. So that can be very nicely done by surgical robots. We also using robots in suturing, making suturing after the surgery. And not only that, there are robot surgical assistants. So that means doctor has done something, and after that, the robot will take over and assist whatever has been left undone by the doctor. So, and also, as I just said, that the AI is also used for drug discovery, especially in the preclinical stage, and even finding the new molecules. And it can forecast, and it can also try those molecules on diseases and then analyze whether it is effective or not. So that's another very exciting and a very, very innovative area for AI, where otherwise we have to do all these clinical trials on human beings, which may take years and years for a new molecule to develop, which can be shortened much more with AI. And then, of course, we are all connected with education, medical, dental, and other education. So AI can be used for curriculum analysis, curriculum build-up, learning, how assessment of learning, how effective has been learning in terms of feedback from the learner, and also assessment. Assessment is examination, because we are now moving away from subjective examination to objective examination, all those OSPI and OSCE. So AI can really help us doing that. And also, it was found that especially we are a dentistry, it's a surgical specialty, and they said AI can assess somebody's skills much better than human beings, whether they have that kind of a precision which is expected from them. And also we are using it for virtual reality, through virtual reality for medical education, whether it is anatomy or it is a life supporting training like BLS and ACLS and anatomy, where all those, somebody learns how to do dissections, how to build the structures, all that can be used there also. So what about dentistry? We're talking medical now. And dentistry also similarly, diagnostic, treatment planning, and especially in radiology, image analysis, predicting, making, record keeping, dental research and discovery. And if you look at these examples, it has been used in all areas, whether it is oral diagnosis, radiology, orthodontics, endodontics, periodontics, oral surgery, forensic odontology. AI has been slowly being used, and it's already made its headway. And I think in times to come, it is going to impact all the specialties and all what we do clinically for optimum use and optimum care of our patients. So what is the scope for AI in dentistry? Scope is, we are all heading for universal health coverage. The FDI is coming up with a Vision 2030 document where they say that we should have universal health coverage. The oral health has to be integrated into a general health, and all our healthcare workforce should be resilient. So AI can be used to improve the access, quality, efficiency, safety of the services, empowering the patient, especially in prevention and many areas. They need to be empowered, they need to be taught, and then supporting medical research and increasing sustainability. You all know that India is supposed to be meeting the SDG goals by 2030. And when we say sustainability, we want to do away with single-use plastics, biomedical waste, all those, the mercury waste. So all those things, sustainability, all that can be increased using AI. And India ready to join the AI race. Our Niti Aayog has 5 top priorities for AI. As per AI, their strategy, which was released in 2018, the healthcare, they want increased healthcare access and affordability, agriculture, increase productivity and income, education, quality and access, smart cities. We already have 20 smart cities, but I think planning for about 100 smart mobility, transportation. All our transportation should be so smart, and it should not be polluting, all those things. So when it comes to healthcare, we are concerned about healthcare, and the government is planning for a data storage system, health locker, and also everybody should have electronic health record. And there should be a platform where all the claims and schemes and all the central and state government schemes, health schemes, that can be supported through that portal. Everybody will have a unique digital health ID on the lines of Aadhaar. Aadhaar is probably world's biggest ID for a population. So similarly, government is planning that everybody should have a unique health ID, and also using all the data for health analysis and making policies for future. So also we know that we have limited medical equipment, we have limited manpower. How AI could optimize the existing resources and monitor what is happening, diseases pattern, and what can be done. What are those target public health intervention schemes, policies that government bring about, and also using AI for prevention, mobile phone apps, empowerment of the public, for education, all that, how it can be done. So that's where AI can be leveraged by the government and by the stakeholders to move forward. And I think we are doing very well. Our strength is that we have a highest number of mobile phone penetration. We have a lot of manpower who's well-versed with cloud computing. Digitizing health information is coming up slowly. M-Health, which is mobile health application, that's becoming much more, and is percolating. So these are some of India's strength, and I'm sure that we can really exploit AI to the best of our needs and abilities. But there are certain concerns and challenges. Are that the data, it has to be ethical, it has to be lawful. We do not want anybody's privacy to be intervened, the autonomy, supervision. It has to be a very fair play. There should not be a war between different AI companies or organization. It should be transparent. It should be reliable data, security of the data, and all those. So do AI applications really respect social values? Because we want to utilize it, but at the same time, we do not want that our lives and our social values, they are put into public. So also what is really needed is standardization. I think we have to now, since it is slowly coming and touching every facet, does it need a regulation? like we have, like TRI, we have TRAI is all those, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So are we heading for some similar regulation and certification standardization? So this is these are some of the challenges we have. So let me thank everybody. But before that, we do that. I think that AI is like a fire. When human being invented fire, human being put it to a good use, and he did not get perished in the fire, but he got merged with the fire. I feel that fire, AI is like something which a human being invented like a fire. So let us use AI so that we get merged with it. And but the only question is, if everything is going to be done via AI, so are we losing the human touch? Are we losing the human touch, or we are making the humans superhuman? So that I'm leaving with that thought, and let me thank everybody again on behalf of the GSL Dental College, Dr. Sunil, principal, and his chairman, our national president of IDA, Dr. Ravinder Singh, Dr. Doble, Krishna Naik, Dean of AB Shetty, Mangalore, and the local IDA Lakshmipuram President Chandrababu, Hari Krishna, Charan Teja, and of course ICD, ICD President Dr. R.P. Gupta, Dr. Rajiv Chugh, and Zonal Region Dr. A.P. Maheshwar, and Dr. Srikant Desai. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that excellent talk that you have given, sir. The most important thing that a teacher should have is what you have, sir, because you should be able to share your knowledge, and that is what you have done. Thank you so much again, sir, for having shared your knowledge and giving an insight of what the youngsters should be thinking in days to come and years to go. May I request Dr. Krishna Naik, sir, to please take up the role of the chief moderator and try to introduce our chief guest for today and the guests of honor. Please, over to you, Krishna Naik, sir. Sir, Krishna Naik, sir, you're not audible.
Unmute, Krishna.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sunil. Of course, in his inevitable style, Mahesh has given us an insight into the concept of artificial intelligence, which is pretty new, relatively new to most of us. And I will not dwell too much into that, but we have to go ahead. But I would like to, first of all, mention here that I deem it a privilege to be associated with this program, where we have the ICD Section 6 and the IDA Head Office, IDA Lakshmipuram branch, and the GLS Dental College being associated with this series of programs, 12 to be precise, on webinars, which are going to be held every month in this year 2021, starting with artificial intelligence. Then they have this Stree Power, that is the women empowerment, and there's so many other topics which are going to be held over this next 12 months. Now, I'm thankful to Dr. Ashok Doble, the Honorary Secretary General of IDA, for agreeing to be the chief guest for today's function. And we have our chief mentor, the chairman of the GLS Dental College, Dr. Gani Bhaskar Rao, who is a surgeon himself. And of course, we have our own president of IDA, who incidentally is serving a second consecutive term, Dr. Ravinder Singh from Assam, and Dr. Rajiv Chugh, the Secretary General of ICD, who is also incidentally the chairperson of the centenary celebrations of R. Ahmed, which should have been concluded by December last year. Of course, a physical conference was planned, convention was planned to celebrate 100 years of modern dentistry in India, which of course had to be transferred to the virtual platform. But all the same, it went on very successfully. This program also is being held as a part of this, also as a part of this 100th year celebration of dentistry in India. And the bridegroom, if I may use the word, of this program, the person who envisaged this whole concept, Dr. Sunil Ganta. I'm proud to say Sunil was our student at undergraduate level and postgraduate level. He is an orthodontist and an administrator and a really unassuming hard worker at it. So Sunil, I'm indeed really proud of you he has been, I don't know how you would put it. I mean, I can use this word. He has been really after me to, rope in or suggest names. So it is, in fact, I'm not taking credit for it. We have got the right person there. I told him he approached Mahesh. I told him Dr. Shanbag and another alumni of ours and a few of the speakers. But he himself, he has done a lot of homework and got the best panel today to speak on artificial intelligence. And in fact, I should confess here and reveal that he has lined up the, the speakers, the program coordinators for each of the 12 programs that are lined up from January to December of 2021. So I will not take much more of your time, but thank you, Dr. Sunil. Thank you, Dr. Gani Bhaskar Rao. And I also thank Dr. Doble, Mahesh. Thank you very much. And they say well begun is half done. With Mahesh going there and playing on the front foot like, our Rohit Sharma, we have got a long, hard-hitting innings, and we have got a long way to go. And with Mahesh showing the way, I'm sure this program, Ganta, you can take it as a super hit already. So, Mahesh, thank you very much. I really mean it. You know that. I really mean it. Thank you, Ashok. Thank you for your good wishes and support. Thank you, Rajiv, for all the good wishes. Thank you, Dr. Gupta, the president of ICD Section 6, of which all of you are aware. I was so closely associated. And these are two associations which I had a very passionate affair with, the ICD and IDA, apart from, of course, my own Indian Orthodontic Society. So it is always a pleasure and privilege to be associated with any program that these two organizations associate themselves with. So welcome once again, all of you. And of course, without the participants, this program is never a success. I congratulate all the participants for making sure I'm using the right word. Congratulations, because you are putting your Sunday evening time to best use by logging into this webinar, series of webinars, which are going to be held all throughout 2021. And I'm sure all of you are going to go back richer in knowledge after this seminar, this webinar, and also, as I say, thicker in friendship and fraternity bond. Thank you very much, Dr. Ganta. Thank you, one and all. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. May I request Dr. Ashok Doble, sir. May I request Dr. Ashok Doble, who is the chief guest of our today's session. And again, thank you so much for giving us access to the IDA Facebook page and being a source of constant support to this program. May I request Dr. Doble, sir, to speak a few words.
Unmute, Ashok, unmute.
Sir, Ashok, sir, please unmute, sir.
Yeah. Very good evening, Dr. Sunil and Dr. Krishna Nayak for introducing me. Chairman of the ICD, Dr. Gupta, Secretary General, Dr. Rajiv Chuk, Dr. Sunil of the Dental College, Dr. Bhaskar Rao, Chairman of the Dental Institute, our President, IDA, Dr. Ravinder Singh, Dr. Krishna Nayak, Dean of the A.B. Shetty Dental College, Dr. Mahesh Sharma, Vice Chancellor of the University. First, I would like to thank the chairman of the ICD, and secretary of the ICD, Dr. Raju Chok, for collaborating with the Indian Dental Association. And same time, for the centenary celebrations, this program is getting organized. Today, unfortunately, this year particularly, we could not able to organize centenary celebrations of the 100 years of the dentistry in the country. But on the virtual platform, great work done by Dr. Raju Chuk and Dr. Raju Vishwas for organizing the event throughout the country. IDA, looking at the last 70 years, we have made many projects have been initiated by IDA in collaborations with the various organizations in the country. And this particular function, getting the advances in the dentistry and the spread of what are the various activities have been done in the past. Today, dentistry is facing number of challenges in the country. But I'm sure with the help of all of you, we'll be able to meet all the challenges what is faced by the dentistry in the current next 2 years. IDA will be 2022. IDA will be celebrating 75 years of the existence. And to celebrate this 75 years of the existence, IDA is going to host World Dental Congress in Mumbai in 2022. And recently, we have initiated a number of activities and projects which will benefit our members and institutions. IDA has done the collaboration with the World Health Organization, CRO, where we are going to carry out 4 major activities which are related to our country. One is the oral cancer, tobacco, oral health, and the research. Now, to carry out the research, we are doing the collaborations with all the dental colleges in the country so that India can become the hub for the dental research and clinical research in the world. And recently, Minister of Health, under public-private partnership with IDA, organizing the first launch of the symposium on the 3rd of February at 2 o'clock. I would like to request all of you to attend this first ever meet between Minister of Health and IDA at 2 o'clock, the future of oral health and dentistry in our country. For the past 10 years, IDA has carried out the several activities for the benefit of members. But this collaboration particularly is very, very important collaboration with the Minister of Health is happened, where we are going to initiate all activities related to the dentistry, and we would like to see that the entire dental profession, is making a revolution in the dentistry, and oral health can happen in the next 2 years or 5 years. The roadmap is going to get prepared on 3rd of February, and we'll initiate all such activities. So without taking much time, I would like to congratulate Dr. Gupta and Dr. Raju Chuk for organizing this activity in collaborating with IDA and giving me this opportunity to share the thoughts, what is happening in the dentistry. So this Minister of Health collaboration, what has happened? I would like to thank you, Dr. Rajiv Chuk, particularly for that, for getting this happen, making this happen with the collaboration with the Minister of Health. Dr. Rajiv Chuk has put all the efforts from the inception to make it really happen. So I would like to thank personally Dr. Rajiv Chuk for making it happen with our collaborations with the Minister of Health. And after somewhere in the middle of March, this activity will be launched nationwide. So thank you once again, Dr. Rajiv Chuk and Dr. Gupta for giving me this opportunity. Jai Hind, Jai IDA.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doble sir, for your valuable words and your constant support for giving access to all of to everybody to see this program through your IDA platform. Thank you again, sir. Thank you once again. May I request Dr. Rajiv Chuk, the Secretary General of ICD, to speak a few words, and then we will get into the. We have lined up so many speakers who are experts in AI. Some of them who are doctors, some of them who are particularly AI experts, one or two of them from the US who will be speaking specifically on AI, and one person will be speaking on AI's relevance to dentistry. May I request Dr. Chug sir to speak a few words? Chug sir,
Good
please
evening, my dear
unmute, sir.
friends. National President IDA, Dr. Ravinder Singh, Honorary Secretary General, Dr. Ashok Doble, Dr. Gani Bhaskar Rao, Chairman GSL Education Institutions, Dr. R.P. Gupta, President ICT Section 6, Dr. Mahesh Verma, Vice Chancellor, Shri Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, past President IDA Head Office and ICT Section 6, Dr. U.S. Krishna Naik, past President IDA Head Office and ICT Section 6, Office Bearers of the IDA Head Office, State Branches, Local Branches, members of the Board of Regents, ICT Section 6, worthy speakers, and audience from all over the country. I welcome you all to this webinar being organized by IDA, ICT Section 6, and GSL Dental College, Rajamundry. My greetings to each of you, and I thank you for being a part of this historic centenary celebrations of dental education in India being organized by IDA, and the centenary celebrations of ICD, which is being celebrated worldwide. The year 1920 will be marked in history, a glorious year for dentistry globally, when the first dental institution in the Southeast Asia was started by Dr. R. Ahmed in Calcutta, and Dr. Louis Atoffi and Dr. Surukichi Okumara laid the foundation for the International College of Dentists. The International College of Dentists has been honoring the world's leading dentists since 1920. Dentists who have been awarded the prestigious title of FICD, that is Fellow International College of Dentists, are currently located in 122 countries worldwide. Fellowship in the college is extended by invitation only. A nominated dentist must pass a rigorous peer review process leading to the recognition of the individual's outstanding professional achievement, meritorious service, and dedication to the continued progress of dentistry for the benefit of humankind. International College of Dentists, Section 6, is an autonomous section for the last 57 years, and it has been carrying out various activities like giving merit awards, holding essay competition for all the dental surgeons in the country, social and community projects, scientific activities, publishing the journal, etc. It also gives award for the best community project taken up in the year by a dental institution in the country, the best final year student in the country, and the best postgraduate in community dentistry in the year throughout the country. ICDA and IDA have now collaborated with the GSL Dental Institute to bring to you webinars on the new innovative subjects every month. I thank the chairman, Dr. Gani Bhaskar Rao, and the principal, Dr. Ghanta Sunil, for taking up this initiative. On behalf of the organizing committee, I thank all of you for joining us here today to celebrate this landmark year and for leading the organization into the second century. I'm sure all of you will enjoy the event today. Jai Hind, Jai IDA, Jai ICD.
Thank you so much for your valuable words, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable words. Now, again, I would thank Chuk sir to have advised me to how to go about doing up the whole program, and thank you for all the support, sir. Thank you once again. And may I request, in continuation to the academic activity, may I request Dr. Shanbag, who is an alumni of AB Shetty Dental College, and an orthodontist, and may I request him to speak on his area of interest in artificial intelligence, the new common sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. It's indeed a privilege and to be here on this platform for this event organized by National College of Dentists, IDA, Lakshmipuram branch, GSL Dental College, and all the luminaries here. It's actually indeed a huge burden speaking after Dr. Mahesh Verma when he's made the topic so simple, and that actually, as Dr. Krishna Naik, my teacher, told, he has done the opening job as a batsman for me. So I'll try to keep this topic absolutely simple as much as possible. Because when it comes to AI is a field of computation, computer engineering. And I'll try to simplify like... Can you hear me? Can somebody give me the feedback whether you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Shanbag. Please go ahead.
All right. And I'll try to keep this topic as simple as possible to make it as simple as possible for even a novice to understand it. And of course, I'm not an absolute expert on this. I'm just going to be sharing my experience and whatever knowledge I've collated. And that is exactly in its purity. Feel free to correct me or share your wisdom with me. I'm all yours, because this is such an exciting branch, as Dr. Mahesh Verma told. The future is going to be disruptive. Mark my word, it is going to be disruptive, because it is going to give you so much of perspective and open up new milestones and new openings that it's going to hit you harder sooner than you think. So indications of artificial, my topic is indications. I'm going to try to be sticking to the topic as much as possible, and maybe giving you a tip here and there as to how those mechanisms work. So this is the exact moment when machines announced that they have come, and they have arrived with a bang. This is an iconic photograph of Gary Kasparov being defeated by a supercomputer called as Deep Blue. And he was such a humiliated that Gary Kasparov actually held his head. You can see his picture, and it is such an ego issue for him. But of course, Gary Kasparov came few years later and did defeat Deep Blue, but that was a jolt for him. And this is the exact moment when AI had actually announced their arrival. So here is another computer. What you're looking at, it is called as IBM's, and it is Watson. It is called as IBM Watson. As Dr. Maheshwaram also told, this computer actually could diagnose disease by pulling out data. It's a supercomputer, and the diagnoses are so accurate that even the most accurate, most experienced physicians could not cope up with the diagnosis. And it was consistent in giving out its diagnosis. So ladies and gentlemen, with doctors, I think you should think about some alternate profession. Thankfully, dentistry is skill oriented. So we have some amount of dexterity to work with. Robots have not become as dexterous as our hands. But when it comes to knowledge and collating data, supercomputers have an edge. And this is an iconic video. I show, this is a robot called as Da Vinci actually peeling off the peel of a grape. So it has become that dexterous. So it is capable of doing a surgery. This is an endoscopy bot which could go inside the intestine and actually could diagnose intestinal problems or probably cancers or any other, the inners of your body can be actually recorded by this tiny bot, which has to be swallowed. It goes into your system and a lot of other possibilities. So let's, in dentistry, let's say in orthodontics or in dentistry, there are only two things. AI or artificial intelligence, which can be virtual, which is capable of calculating or giving out answers to you based on the algorithms commanded to it, or it can be physical. That means it is capable of executing a task depending upon the programs it is or algorithms it's fed or the feedback it's got. So it's virtual or physical, but most of our applications are virtual. So what is it? What has AI influenced? Every field: prosthodontics, orthodontics, oral cancer detection, periodontics, TMJ, detect carious lesions, oral surgery, and it can also be used to predict outcome of complex scenarios. Now, let's take the first example of prosthodontics. Now, remember, if a patient comes to you, you have to do a crown. In the old-fashioned way, we would probably, on the top left, you have an impression. You have to make an impression. Then impression is poured. Then the casts are cut by die-cutting machines. Then the wax form is formed. This is dewaxed. Then once it's dewaxed, then the metal copings are done. Then the ceramist paints those ceramic layer. It is put in a furnace. Time taken, 1 full day. Now comes AI. You scan the teeth, 5 minutes. You probably make this coping, you make this copings on a sophisticated software called as ExoCAD, maybe an hour, 1.5 hours. And then you give the command to the machine, like the milling machine, and the machine carves out this entire bridge in flat 10 minutes. Have a look. And you can probably turn on the volume. It's very nice with a good volume sound. So there you are, few minutes and it's done. So how does it work? Before I go on to, there will be repeated jargons which will be used. So I'm not going to try to explain all the jargons because it is beyond my competence zone, and it's for the AI experts from the computer engineering field to probably explain this as to in more detail. So these are the jargons you'll hear: random forest, convoluted neural network, artificial neural network, deep learning, support vector machines, and machine learning. So what I'm going to focus on few applications which are used very often. All right, you might very happy or very confusing. So I'm going to try to tell you what is artificial neural network, what is machine learning, what is support vector, and what is support vector machines. Okay, these are the terms which are going to be used in many of the applications. So I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. All right, so now let's say on a screen, we all know this is number 3. Okay, this is number 3 in a different form. What happens in artificial neural network or for the machines, it's if you put the number on the right, that is a red number on the right, on the left, it can recognize. But if you try to keep it try to write the number 3 in a different form, it might get confused. So this is machine learning, where you train the machine to understand the different forms of 3. Okay, so please be very attentive. This is a very difficult topic I'm trying to explain. So how does that work? How do you train the machine to understand different forms, and that to understand and recognize that is number 3? So this is how it works. Now I'm going to so because I needed the cursor. So if this is a number 3, this artificial neural network, or which is a kind of an artificial intelligence, has 3 layers. An input layer, that is the first layer. And there is something called as an hidden layer. And there is a third layer called as output layer. Now, what are these layers? The layers are nothing but points or nodes in the machines where they can collect the data, assimilate the data, cross-share the data with the neighboring nodes, and then come out with the inference. Okay, so how does it work? Let's say this is what the first on the, you only see one single line in those black sorry. So these are 4, let's say, let's call them pixels, or let's call them whatever nodes. And this is letter 3, okay? So the first input layer has to collect data from all of these nodes and come with an inference that this number probably looks like what, okay? And so for first instance, it might look like it is only number 1. That means the first extreme right corner of that number can look like 1, it can look like 3, it can look like 4, because all of them have number 1 on the extreme right corner of that number. It can look like 8, it can look like 9, it can look like even 0. So it is a job of the middle layer to assimilate and collect the data. No, it doesn't look like number 1 because there are extensions of those 3 going on that direction. So it is probably getting the input and it communicates with the middle layer or the hidden layer and infers, oh, it has got an extension from that number 1. That means definitely it is number 1. It has got an extension in the middle portion of that number 3. That means it is not 4. It has got an extensions from the lower portion of that number 1. That means it is not 9 or 0. And this is how it infers that this is number 3. So artificial networks are nothing but nodes of engineering in the computational which cross communicate with each other and they infer out the possibilities for us. Now this is number. The same thing can be applied to our science. When you feed them with a string of data, it will assimilate for you and then infer out for you. Look, man, this is what it looks like. What you think may be wrong, but this is what it looks like. But of course, it needs huge set of data to begin with. All right. So this is, I'm going to try to simplify as much as possible. So consider it like this. Artificial neural network is like a filter coffee. Okay. Or probably your water filtration machine, which has got all the germs. This looks like a cat. This one of them is a jaguar and one of them is a panther. So artificial neural networks are nothing, but it assimilates all this data, complex data, and tells you that it's a cat. It tells you on the shape of the ear, the skin color, habitat, active, prey, climbing ability, swimming ability, color of the eyes. In other words, these are all the data points which you need to feed in those systems in the first place. So the first job is, of course, of a human to train the machine. Then comes machine learning, machine learning. There are 2 ways. There are unsupervised machine learning and supervised machine learning. In other words, let's say, what is a supervised learning? In supervised learning, this is a teacher, actually the teacher trying to hold the hand of the students, trying to tell you, look, this is how I do it. This is how you have to do it. And if you do it right, she will correct you. That is supervised learning. Similarly, machines have to be supervised. So one supervised learning example is, now one supervised learning example is, here we tell that this is a lion. Okay, we tell the machine that it is a lion. This is called as a labeled data. That means we are telling you this is a lion and we are labeling it as lion and these are the features. This is how a lion should be. Then we feed the machine to confuse it probably with a cat and a lion and to see what it does. The machine initially might give you it looks like a cat. So then we correct it, course correct it, giving a feedback. Look, that's not a lion, cat, it's a lion. So this process happens over and over and over again with thousands and millions of data points and till the machine learns. And that is called as supervised machine learning. Okay. Then comes unsupervised machine learning. Unsupervised machine is you give the machine a set of data points. You give a set of lions. You give a tiger, lion, cheetah, zebra, whatever, cheetah, and all the other animals. You don't tell which is the one, how does a lion look like or whatever. You just give it a command, separate me all the animals which are having spots, and let the machine decide for itself based on the algorithms what it thinks. If it gets it right, I mean, if it doesn't get it right, you could course correct it also again. But then this is why this is used, is to actually get a perspective of how the machine would think without a human being. And that is important for us to know a different perspective of thinking as well. I'm not going to go into the absolute details of it because it is not because beyond our core competence, but this is what I could understand out of unsupervised learning. It is used for a cluster of data where it needs to segregate many data points, age group, females, males. So the computer does that for you unsupervised. So this is called as unsupervised machine learning. Now, this is a classic example of support vector machine. In other words, don't get confused. It is nothing but a form of a supervised learning. For example, on the top, what do you see? I mean, I'd like the audience to be a little interactive, so they can actually, probably send me a message. I mean, it's going to be fun doing this. So what do you see? What do you see? You can chat with me. Okay. All right. So you might see, what you see is here is a dog. Okay. Now you give the computer, or you give the machines another picture that looks very closely like the dog. So the machine sees it probably a brown object with 3 eyes, and it thinks it's probably a cookie. Okay, you have actually told the machine that it's a dog. There are cookies, there are dogs, there are many other things. But when you confuse the machines with similar looking images, it thinks that the dog is a cookie. Okay, so that is called as an error. So you give the computer another image. Again, we give a cookie, and this time probably that if they give the image of a dog, then the computer still thinks it's like a cookie. Then the error point is huge. That means the red dot, how much you're from the actual image have you deviated? This is the error. Okay. Again, you give the image of the dog, and this time if the machine gets it right, then the error points have decreased here. You keep on doing this again and again and again and again till the machine gets it right. That is called as supervised machine learning, or also called as support vector machines. That means there's a vector point between the wrong and the right, and you try to get the median point, and machine has to learn till the red marks become nil or almost 98% accurate. So you keep on giving them confusing images till it gets it right. Okay, so these are classic examples of supervised machine learning, which we have tried to apply in our field. Now, so in orthodontics, what are the applications? We have skeletal maturity indicator. Can you believe it? The machines using ANN, artificial neural network, the same things I told you, input, middle layer, and output, can actually recognize that what stage the person is for our benefit, to whether to give a functional appliance or not give a functional appliance. This is published by Amasya et al. In 2020. All these articles on AI landmark articles are 2019 and 2020. So we are at a surge now. Cephalometric analysis, they use convolutional neural network, which is again a kind of a neural network. I will not get into the details of it, but to give the data, we had to tell them the rotation of the X-ray, the tilting of the X-ray, the parallel shifting, the mirroring, the noise, the brightness, the darkness of the image, all these multiple data points of each and every point, like point A, point B, point S, each and every point had to be fed to the machine with all these varied parameters. So that's where it becomes very complex because of the huge amount of input data which you have to give. So, but the parameters fed to AI were absolutely accurate in predicting cephalometric analysis. So you're standing here, you're sitting here in a revolution. Another classic example is Phase 2 Gene. This app is creating waves, and I've seen it to many conferences, in my cleft conferences, and a lot of people mention it. This app can, if you have to simply load the picture face of it is an expert in recognizing syndromes, and all you have to do is load the load the picture of the syndrome with all the probable symptoms, what you think it is there, and it is accurate to the core in identifying the syndrome. Predicting extraction versus not extraction. That means that actually computers can tell you on your facial profile whether extraction is needed or not needed. Wonderful, isn't it? Orthodontist job's done. We don't have to really apply our brain. But however, this study did not do so well because of the less amount of data. As I told you, the input layers, how much data you feed, more accurate the studies become. Or the number of hidden layers in between the input layer and the output layers, so that those nodes communicate with each other, the data becomes more accurate. And here is a classic example of AI in aligners these days, orthodontics. AI is everywhere, and it gives us a very third perspective. If you can tell the beginning in the end, nothing better than telling this is how your teeth is going to look like. What's amazing is the scanners can actually recognize which is a teeth, which is a pit, which is a gum. That means the machine has learned that not all red, the red can be gingiva, the red can be blood as well. So the machine is so smart, based on it's been trained by so many of thousands and millions of images, it can exactly tell you that's not blood, that's gums, or that's gingiva. And not only that, as you see, when you move the tooth, the gingiva actually follows the tooth. So this is another amazing AI application. And finally, we can make aligners using the same application. So I'll just quickly play this video. And here's machines predicting for us. And here's another example of robots. I'm not talking about algorithms. Now the robots have taken over orthodontics. And here is a classic example of a machine cutting a aligner for us. And so it actually recognizes where the gum start and where the teeth ends, or where the teeth starts. And you can cut those boundaries based on the dexterity of the robots. And here's an article published by me in 2019. Here is a perfect marriage of artificial intelligence logarithms plus artificial intelligence robotics. That means what I did in here is, I wanted to make this nameplate so for a cleft child. So instead of using the putty impression initially to record the impression, we use the intraoral scanner, one of the first usages of intraoral scanner. So intraoral scanner actually scanned the image. The exocad machines or softwares, actually made this plate probably in half an hour. This was milled by 5-axis milling machines, just like the same one which I showed as where they do the crown. And the milling process took only probably half a day. And it was delivered like this in a puck. All the jobs done absolutely by machines. And the only job for me was to load the resin and deliver the plate. So, and it was accurate to the core. So this is a classic application of marriage between artificial intelligence, algorithms to applications by robots. Now, moving on, the other segments of imagine, just think aloud and really think aloud. What if you have a small micro robot, all the orthodontists here, or if you have a small micro robot that is actually pulling out the impacted canine from your arches? And what if you have first of all, an algorithm to predict whether that canine can be taken off or not? So this, I think, would be the future. I'm just thinking aloud here. And another example, the orthodontists strive with, this is probably fantasy at this point in time, but one point in time, I'm sure this will become reality. We've struggled with compliance. We ask the patient to put an expansion screw, ask them to turn the screw, and they forget, compliance is a big issue in orthodontics. But what if we don't need to do that? What if we had small tiny motors right inside the expansion plate, okay? And there is an input which gives a small tiny, like a servo motors, which are very powerful small motors, and they can actually turn a screw, expand the halves, and once it has reached the designated area, it gives an input, and that is sent by as a feedback and gives it back to the input. Look, man, the expansion is achieved, so we don't want more expansion, and the expansion stops. Wow, if that happens, somebody has to work on it. But this, I feel, is going to be the future. I'm thinking aloud here. Call me arrogant or whatever for you for that matter, but I think there are a lot of possibilities. One beautiful article is by Dr. Jorge Faber. I strongly recommend you going through this article. Is beautifully written, and I mean, please go through it. Finally, endodontics. Imagine in endodontics, if a deep learning, what is deep learning, or is nothing but artificial neural network, it has the ability to find from the CBCT, and it can detect caries by CBCT. In periodontics, it has integrated patients' medical records, and it can also and also classify between gingivitis and healthy periodontium. Now, periodontics, it has gone even further. It has actually collected data from interleukins, leukocytes, and IgG titers, and actually can tell you which is an aggressive periodontitis and which is not, depending on the bacterial load. Of course, it does not have sensors, but it has the data, which if these data to the tone accurate, if you can collect and feed in the machines, it can even tell you which is an aggressive periodontitis and which is not. So these are also the other fields which it has gone into. And TMJ, our good old TMJ, even probably the most clinicians fail to understand. We are already confused as the human beings. Now we are confusing machines as well. So now when TMJ, it can actually predict you whether which is TMD, which is genuine problem and which is not genuine problem. How? Believe it or not, only on the language. It just picks up deep chief complaints from the patient's mouth, patient's this thing, and can predict which is bad, which is a TMD, and they are very, very, very accurate only on the language. Finally, artificial intelligence, another article which I strongly recommend reading. And oral surgery, it tells you based on the questions whether how good is the hygiene, how is the surgery done, how was the bone done, how was the root fracture. 98% accurate if you can give them the data that which patients will have swelling and which will not. Implantology is again another making foray into. And another good article, application of artificial intelligence by T. Shan, strongly recommended reading it. And living with implantology, here is one of the final videos. So this is the future, or probably it's already there. So those who are fond of artificial intelligence and those are geeky. I'm leaving you with this final slide. And those who want, they like tinkering with robots, or you have an imagination. I recommend Arduino. You know what is an Arduino? Arduino, if you have an imagination, you just have to. You can build so many things out of it. They are freeware, and they have made a lot of chips like photosensitive chips. They have line following robot chips. You have so many. It's a kid's play. All you have to do is buy those parts online. The programs are all written there online, and you can create amazing stuff with this. And if you have an imagination nowadays, you can even 3D print, and they will also tell you, the community, as to how you can 3D print it. So if you're geeky kinds, if you have an itching to create something nice, look out Arduino. All right. So with this, I'm leave you with a lot of imagination. I'm sure. I hope I stirred a hornet's nest by opening up a lot of perspectives for you. And thank you so much for being a patient audience, and thank you ICD, GSL Dental College, IDA for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You are as amazing as you were in your college days. highly intellectual and highly knowledgeable. Thank you, Shanbag. It's been so good, and surely there will be a day that we are going to see robots putting our brackets very soon. They are the ones who are going to align the teeth, and we are going to just watch. Fine, it is good anyway. It is good anyway. Thank you so much, Shanbag. The next speaker we are going to have is Dr. Sandeep Ganni. He is he's the first PhD in India. He's the first person to do his PhD in India on simulation. And simulation is, as per the MCI norms or the NMC norms, now simulation labs are mandatory in all medical colleges. And you can see one of the finest simulation labs in GSL, where AI is a part of the simulation lab. And we have our dental students attending the AI courses here at GSL. May I request Dr. Sandeep Ganni, the chairman of GSL Dental College, to please talk to all of us on his expertise in AI relating to the medical field.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil. Thank you, Dr. Sunil. It is indeed a pleasure to be on this panel, and I've heard briefly Dr. Gajanan's speech, and really exciting speech. And thank you for that amazing introduction in artificial intelligence in dentistry and the indications. I apologize for my lack of preparedness, as I'm traveling right now, for lack of a visual. But I've done my PhD in surgical simulation in the Netherlands at TU Delft. And I've been the director of GSL Smart Lab for the past 5 years. And speaking about AI, the indications, as you've heard before, they are wide-ranging, from technology, music, gaming, computer vision, robotics, programming, and as such. But to focus on what we do in GSL Smart Lab and what I did as part of my PhD, it is quite logical when it comes to that. When we see these advanced simulators in our simulation centers, it only brings to question, we are dealing with so much technology in training, but how does it translate to practice? Are we using the same metrics that we use in training to measure our objective performance in practice? That is not the case. What we observed. So what I did was use AI for video recognition. So when we train surgeons, what we do is we record their performances, and this is where we've used AI, image recognition, and how they perform. So this is where machine learning and deep learning comes in.
Dr. Sandeep, are you online? Dr. Sandeep, are you online? Okay, then we'll shift to the next speaker of our today's panelist. He is Dr.
Hello.
Chekuri S. Chowdhury.
Hello.
Sandeep. Yeah. Okay. Dr. Sandeep, please continue. Dr. Sandeep, please continue. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the audio disturbance. Okay, fine. May I introduce the next speaker for today? He is Chekuri S. Chowdhury, and he's done his PhD in computer sciences and engineering in 2007, and right now at the University of South Carolina, Columbia, USA. And his experiences, he's an AI specialist at IBM Austin, Texas. And his specialization is in machine learning and quantum computation and high performance computing. And there's a long list of things Dr. Chowdhury has. And may I request Dr. Chowdhury to please enlighten us with his vast knowledge in AI intelligence and its relevance to dentistry and medical science. Thank you. Over to Dr. Chaudhary. Dr. Chaudhary?
Yes. Hi. Hello, everybody. It's great to meet all of you. And I've been listening to this forum over the last 1 hour, and it's really interesting to see a group of medical doctors discussing so intensely about AI and its implications on the field of medicine and dentistry. Now, I don't know if I can, honestly, if I can add much value to this because I'm a hopeless techie. I'm interested in solving technical problems. I'm a computer scientist. And I did not have a good gauge of audience here to be prepared for this talk. So I just randomly associated some slides hoping that that would hit the nail. Now, I see some questions in the forum. We can make it pretty interactive. If you have any questions here, just shoot them anytime, and we can make this interactive. Now, talking about AI, educating about AI, explaining what they do, that is, I mean, that requires a lot more time than 15 minutes, obviously. It requires, I'd say, about a couple of hours to give some intuition into how AI works. Now, so applying technology for medical applications is nothing new, right? There's an entire field of engineering called biomedical engineering built around developing instruments for medical applications for medical practitioners. So what is different in using AI? I think that's what I will try to address. I've been asked to address the topic AI in diagnostics. And if we want to talk about use cases, what is being done in using AI in dentistry, what are the applications, what are the potential applications, like we have seen, I think you are a much better judge of where it would be applicable and what is currently, how AI is currently being leveraged in dentistry and medicine in general. I think for that, you would be a much better judge and much better speakers. So I think I will try to build some intuition into what these algorithms are doing underneath and leave it for the forum to ask any questions. Hopefully that will be a productive use of our time. Let's see. And I'll try to address some of these questions that are coming up, and some of, like one example that I have seen, one comment that I have seen, AI applications are doing better than humans. I'll try to explain why it is and try to convince you that there is no magic there. Okay. See if I can share my screen. Okay, let's switch to this little slide here. And in the middle of this heavy talk, let me start with this image of a beautiful woman. Her name is Lena, and practitioners in image processing know her image pretty well. This is an image from 1973. A professor used it for whatever reason in his paper, and then it became so popular that researchers have been using it forever. Now, this is called edge detection. That is, you take an image and, okay, first of all, why am I focusing on image processing? I did some quick literature review on AI in dentistry and AI in diagnostics as related to dentistry. And quite obviously, I think most of the applications that are being proposed or that exists out there are in image processing or computer vision, whatever we call it. So that is where AI has made a profound impact over the last few years. And medicine for the diagnostics especially significantly depends on imaging. It's called medical imaging, right? Either CT scans or MRI images or X-rays or mammograms. So in the near future, the early applications that we are going to see in diagnostics as they come to practitioners, I think they're going to be based a lot on image processing, mostly on image processing. So I think we'll just focus on this single topic and try to develop some intuition on what happens under the covers. So this is called image process. This is called edge detection. That is, we have an image. An image is a group of pixels. It's a bunch of pixels, right? If you read an image, if you want to feed an image to a computer, all you would feed is a two-dimensional array of pixels. It's just a bunch of numbers arranged in 2 dimensions. Now, if it is a color image, you would have 3 different channels, red, green, and blue. Those are primary colors. So you would have 3 channels. So it would be a 3-dimensional matrix. And these pixels are called edges, where we have this separation between the object and this background. Those are called edges. The goal here is to identify these pixels. Now, this is a task back in maybe 80s. It's a well-studied topic. You can do edge detection with great accuracy these days. So you use computer algorithms to identify these edges. Now, these edges are called as features. Okay, so if you're looking at an image, if a human being is looking at an image and saying this is a Lena image, in a fraction of a second, there is a lot of processing going on in our brain, right? We are looking at these edges that separate this lady from this background. We are looking at her skin tone and texture, and then immediately recognizing it as a Lena image. So we are mapping those low-level features like edges to some high-level features such as face, eyes, hat, etc. Right? Now, a few years ago, this is a slide from 2004, from my graduate student days. My goal was to take these classroom video frames, and identify these chalk pixels on this board. So how do you binarize it? How do you separate these chalk pixels and extract this text? The goal was to thin it and then feed it to a handwriting recognition system so that we can automatically understand the code, the text that is being written on this chalkboard. Now, this was a very challenging task back 15 years ago. Okay. So this led to a publication in IEEE Transactions on Multimedia, which is a premier journal in the field of computer vision. Now, fast forward 15 years, I think this would be a pretty easy task for a skilled engineer these days using AI, using machine learning. So you could use either pixel level classification, we could and classify these frames. We could first classify these frames into content frames and non-content frames. That is, we take these videos, and a video is just a group of frames, right? It's a bunch of images that are being played at a speed greater than 16 frames per second. Now we can take these images and first classify them into content frames and non-content frames. And then once we identify these, when I say we identify, we're talking about algorithms identifying it automatically. We can take these handwritten slides or this text or these chalkboard videos, chalkboard frames, and then apply AI and classify them into content frames and classify these pixels into chalk pixels and not chalk pixels. Right? So how does AI enable this task? Well, 15 years ago, we needed to apply a bunch of image processing techniques, a group of image processing techniques, and still it was not robust enough to be built, to be used for actual applications. Now, AI has made these image processing tasks much easier. So this is what is called a convolutional neural network. If you are, there was some talk about jargon and using all these algorithms like support vector machines, neural networks, random forests, whatever. So in the context of supervised learning, think of these as function estimators or function approximators, if that makes any sense. So you might have, you might be able to quickly recollect what a function is. That's from high school, right? F of x is equal to x squared plus 2. That's a function. X is the input, f of x is the output, y is equal to x squared plus 2. So y is the output and x is the input. Now, when we are looking at an image and saying whether it is a Lena image or image of an Albert Einstein, there is some processing going on within our brains. Okay, we don't have a complete understanding of what it is. And what we are trying to do with AI is mimic that process that's happening in our brain. We would never, but maybe we will be able to, but as of now, we cannot even get close to what that processing is in our brain. But using these mathematical algorithms and using vast amounts of data, we be able to approximately mimic that function that is happening in our brain. We call it a function because that's the best we can do. We think it is a mathematical function. We try to structure it as a mathematical function, and we try to build that function. We try to learn that function from the data. And how do we learn? We use machine learning. That's what we do. Now, using these convolutional neural networks, CNN is another type of function approximator. So neural network is a function approximator, and CNN is one particular type of a neural network. So using the CNN, we would be able to recognize these low-level features like edges in these initial layers, and then map them to higher-level features like face, eyes, etc. Now, even this is sort of a hypothesis. I mean, the latest research has tried to establish this, but in fact, 5 to 10 years ago, we did not even have, computer scientists even did not have a complete understanding of how a neural network is learning these image processing tasks so efficiently. They looked into this neural network because these are huge, computationally huge. These have tens and hundreds of layers, and it requires a lot of computation to train these neural networks. You take 1 million images, it's called an ImageNet data set. You take 1 million images and train this neural network for a few days on state-of-the-art supercomputers. And then we would be able to achieve some 80 to 90% accuracy. And the latest accuracy on ImageNet dataset has surpassed 95%, which is much better than what was initially obtained. Now, this maybe gives a little intuition into what are the problems that we face in AI. So when you are training with this lots of huge amounts of data, you run into what is called underfitting and overfitting. Let's talk about Bayes error for a little while. We talked about human accuracy, right? Let's say you assemble a group of radiologists and ask them to classify malignant tumors versus, let's say, benign tumors. And the radiologists get about 97% accuracy. How do we know they are 97% accurate? In the remaining 3% of the cases, unfortunately, the person passes away, and that's how we know that, or the tumor spreads very rapidly, and that's how we know that it has been it has been wrongly classified. Now that 97% is called Bayes error, right? The 3% is called Bayes error. That's the best we can do. Now, if the humans can be 97% accurate, how can a machine surpass that 97% if that machine is being trained by humans? I mean, the machine doesn't have any cognitive capabilities to recognize that the humans are wrong, like we recognize sometimes in a classroom that the teacher is wrong, because we have these powers given by nature to be able to recognize that our teacher is wrong. But how can a machine do that? Or can a machine do that? At least not. At least no, for the time being. But what happens is these pixels, let's say we take an image and we obscure that image with some noise, then human beings won't be able to recognize that image. But if there is a pattern in those pixels, that pattern can be recognized by the computer algorithms, because computers love numbers, huge amounts of numbers. It just takes those numbers and it is still able to identify that pattern in that obscured image, because all it does is crunch numbers. Okay? That's how the computer algorithms in some cases surpass human error. So are able to do better than human beings. Now, this is Another slide, it just talks about data preparation. So the point here is AI does not exist in isolation. So there is a lot of contributing fields from a technical perspective. We need computing, we need data preparation tools, we need huge sets of data. Data is the bread and butter of AI. You need data for everything. Fortunately, in the field of medicine, in fields like radiology, there is lots and lots of data that have been collected over the, over the past several years. And we could use that data to train algorithms. Another advantage with radiology applications and diagnostic applications is if you're trying to recognize a cat or a lion or doing some image processing task, or if you're trying to do a segmentation, image segmentation, then the possibilities for the background are endless. Right? There are infinite number of possibilities. But in the case of medical images, we know it's a constrained environment, right? So that makes AI applications even more accurate. And in some cases, we might also be able to incorporate the machine parameters into the AI models. We know what machines are, we know what the machine errors are, we know how to tune those machines, so we can correct for any machine errors as a pre-processing step. So the AI applications tend to do much better on these constrained environment applications than when we are trying to do classification with infinite number of possibilities. Okay, so segmentation is just separating those pixels, identifying those pixels. So this is, you have talked about it in length. Like I said, I could not gauge the audience completely. Now, let me switch gears a little bit and talk about Bayesian optimization. This is something that I'm working on right now. And this is not about diagnostics, it is about drug discovery. So what are the kinds of algorithms that could be used in drug discovery? Recently, we all know this, we are going through this pandemic, and there's been a surge of interest from the researchers in identifying drugs for COVID-19. Now, high throughput virtual screening, HTVS, is becoming a very popular technique in drug discovery. And what it does is it analyzes quickly a large number of molecules and see if they are candidates for drug discovery. Now, these molecules are simulated on high performance computers, and it turns out that the molecules can be represented in a multidimensional space. So what is multidimensional space? You have 2 dimensions, which is a plane, 3 dimensions, which is space, and real world is 3-dimensional, and you could have more than 3 dimensions in theory, in principle, right? So that's a multidimensional space. Now, the molecules can be represented in a multidimensional space, and we could search for the candidate molecules in that multidimensional space using AI algorithms. And one algorithm is Bayesian optimization. So all these machine learning optimization is the core of machine learning. So all these AI algorithms do is optimization. Now, how do you know if a molecule is a better candidate for drugs? Well, we use some measure. We quantify the effectiveness of the molecule. It's something called VINA score, which is not a very efficient metric, but you could use something else. There are other potential metrics as well. But the point here is we could use these optimization techniques to efficiently search through this vast number of molecules and identify the potential candidates, especially when we are time crunched, like during this pandemic. Now, what is Bayesian optimization? It's a optimization technique. So let's say we have this simulation here, an airflow simulation on a car. Well, these are engineering applications, but you could have, let's say, a molecule simulation here. Now, it takes a bunch of parameter values, and the engineers are just giving a random set of values for these parameters and trying to search through this parameter space and find the most efficient combination of these parameters. Now, Bayesian optimization is something that makes this task somewhat easier. Instead of manually tweaking all these parameter values, it just takes something called it makes an imposter. So we start with a imposter for this simulation here. It's called a black box. We don't know what it is. We don't know what this function is, so we are not able to optimize it. But we can only sample this function at certain points in space. So we make an imposter for this, and then iteratively try to map that imposter to this actual function and then optimize it. I think I'll stop here and make it interactive and see if there are any questions. You can ask me anything, literally any question. And let's see.
Well, most of the students are asking one specific question.
Yeah.
That is there any course for AI? And if it is, for how many? What is the duration?
Sure. So there are plenty of courses. Nowadays, education has become very free, right? There is Coursera, where there are tons of courses, very good courses. If you are, I would say, because you're coming from a non-technical field, maybe start with AI for Everyone course on Coursera. It's by Andrew Yang. It's a very, very smooth.
Yeah. Can you share those links, sir? Can you share those links with all the audience so that they can directly be in touch with you? They can take advices from you and they can benefit from this webinar?
Andrew Yang courses for everyone. And then there are machine learning specialization and deep learning specialization. But let me tell something. I mean, if you want to learn carpentry, you need to wear a carpenter hat and use the swivel or whatever tools that the carpenter uses, right? So similarly, I see a lot of analogies on the internet trying to compare what's happening with some explanations from the real world. Analogies are good, but if you want to take it beyond certain point, I would say use the right tools and a little background in mathematics. I think we all have that, especially the students from India. We definitely have the mathematical background. We just need to bring it out. It's like the native language. We all know native language very well, but we need to bring it out. Similarly, I think we all have that mathematical foundations. We just need to bring them out.
Can you share your email address with all the audience so that they can get in touch with you directly?
Okay, sure. That's my email.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. You've been great speaking to all the audience, and your technical expertise is par excellence. And I hope all the students have benefited on the technical aspect of AI from what Dr. Chaudhary has told. Now, again, thank you, Dr. Chaudhary, and I will be shifting to the next speaker. Nitin, thank you for being so patient for so long. And Nitin Shivshankar, he is the co-founder of Mimic Medical Solutions Private Limited in Bangalore. And from whatever I have interacted with Nitin, the best thing I can tell you is about Nitin is you give him an idea, he will bring it into reality. That is what I can talk about Nitin. Nitin, are you there? Yeah. Thank you, Nitin. See, as I was telling the audience, you can share your address and all that to everybody. Because I was telling the audience, you give Nitin an idea, he will bring it into reality. Thank you, Nitin. Please it's your time to speak.
Yeah, sure. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, you're audible, Nitin.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Now we can see your screen. And before Nitin goes ahead with his lecture, one small thing I would like to bring to the notice of the audience is Nitin and his team, that is Mimic Medical Solutions, has brought a very, 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 very cost-effective simulator for different aspects of medical in the medical field, wherein the cost of the simulators they have brought is to almost 10% of what the other simulators from all over the world, from the rest of the world, bring it. Nitin, it's all for you.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Sunil. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. So a little more about myself and the company. I am Nitin Shivashankar. I graduated from Indian Institute of Science a couple of years back, and me and a couple of co-founders, who I'll talk about in the end, we decided to start this company called Mimic Medical Simulations that focused on developing simulators for medical procedures. And recently we started working on AI in medicine as well, given the knowledge that we gained through developing simulators, because end of the day, simulation is about performing procedures itself. So there's a lot of understanding that goes while building these systems. And we decided to kind of pivot due to the pandemic as well, and so many other reasons. We decided to implement some AI solutions ourselves. So much like AI, humans learn, or much like humans, AI learns from analogy. So in that spirit, today I'm going to talk more from my experience as a technologist collaborating with doctors, and what are the bumps that we faced, and how we went about this entire process from my experience. And of course, I'm addressing a dental audience, but I'll be bringing in a lot of GI endoscopy technology, because that's the field that we have worked primarily in. And hopefully, since there's a lot of doctors in the crowd, you'll be able to pick up everything, and maybe even appreciate it much more deeply than we as technologists do. Right. So this field of GI endoscopy is very exciting because it's one of the largest minimally invasive procedures carried out in the world. There are more than 100 million procedures, and there's a lot of use cases for it. And given that it is minimally invasive, it is becoming very popular for a lot of small procedures to be carried out. Not only in the GI tract, but even for cardiology, even for nephrology, access to the liver, bile duct. So many other locations are becoming more and more easy to be accessed through GI endoscopy. And the kind of core and focus of what we were doing is, can we empower clinicians to make endoscopy accessible? Or can we reach the entry bar, make it easier for people to become endoscopists, general surgeons to become endoscopists, and then kind of leverage that position to general surgery as well. So that's the core of focus of what we are doing. And roughly, the company itself is built on 3 pillars, of robotics, AI engines, and product design. These are all exciting fields, but I think the greatest kind of reward at the end of all of these things is to be able to design products that actually work in the work for a particular segment of the population for whatever use case. And for us, that has been gastroenterologists across the spectrum, right from training to endoscopy systems itself. So to that end, our first product was what we developed was called EndoMimic. This is both in the field of robotics, virtual reality, and simulations. I think one of the earlier speakers spoke about their experience in simulations and in haptics and all of that. So this is it's a very close topic of ours itself, where we developed an interactive haptic simulator which simulates an actual patient while endoscopy is being performed. This is, as you can see, the product brochure on the right. It actually has a simulated endoscope, which we insert into the virtual patient. You'll be able to feel the various anatomical structures, while on the main screen, you will actually see the procedure being carried out. So yes, that is about our simulator itself. But more broadly speaking, minimally invasive procedures, there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of innovation. There are many things that can be done. And since we have focused specifically on GI endoscopy, we are now in the process of developing an intelligent endoscopy system. And there are a lot of benefits over here. We are both developing the hardware as well as the software that goes into it, and for a variety of reasons. One of the biggest reasons to do this is better economics. You have it becomes more accessible. It is cheaper, at least for the general case. Where you have specialized procedures, of course, you will need advanced instrumentation systems, but things like screening, all of that can be done through this kind of a platform. And these are aimed at leveraging economies of scale. And it helps to integrate it with cloud systems and gives you improved efficiencies over there. Right. So now moving on to just get an idea of how AI is working today in gastroenterology. Though I know I'm addressing a little crowd, I would like to draw some parallels of why AI works or how AI works in the real world or in terms of products. So over here, you see in the past couple of years, a large number of AI products have been cleared by the various agencies, FDA, CE, and so on and so forth. And what is very interesting is you will notice two things. That is, the manufacturers or the agencies that have obtained these approvals are all these imaging companies, Olympus, Pentax, Medtronic, Fujifilm, all of them are imaging companies. And this is very interesting. Why is it only that imaging companies are able to do that? And the reason for that is data, because they
Nitin, your audio is down. ఈయన రెడీగా ఉన్నారా సందీప్ గారు? Okay, fine. Are you in, Dr. Nitin? Mr. Nitin? Okay, fine. Fine. I have interacted with Nitin a couple of times because he's got a nice vision on, we at GSL have we are working on about 4 different projects on AI. So what I suggest all the audiences, if you have an idea, call him, sit with him, share your idea. And before you share your idea with anybody, that is the next topic next month we are going to take up. Go for a patent, go for a copyright, make sure that idea is yours, then share it with others and make that idea become a reality. May I request Dr. Chugh sir to please end the meeting in the best possible and give a proper ending to this valuable program named Extra Innings. And again, Chugh sir, thank you so much for being very supportive in the program. And small glitches, next time we'll make sure they're not there. Sir, over to you, Chugh sir.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank all the speakers for wonderful presentations. It was very enlightening because artificial intelligence is a subject which is a raw area for most of the dental surgeons. So the I think it was a great input by these speakers to make us aware what is there for us in the future. And I'm sure in the coming programs, when we take up more of such topics and learn more about artificial intelligence, we'll be able to incorporate that in our dental practices in the future. Though we already see some changes taking place, especially in prosthetics, all these computer-aided devices which are coming in and computer-aided restorations which are being formulated. So artificial intelligence has already made inroads into the profession. But with the passage of time, as it gets defined and we get aware about this, we will be able to attain more with the coming years. Thank you so much for all the organizers. I must compliment Dr. Gantasunil. Thank you, Dr. Nakar, for your inputs. And the team from the GSL Dental College for arranging such a wonderful programs. And they have planned many more activities in the coming months. So we'll be coming back and sharing with you all those new innovative topics we are going to cover up in the next few months. And I'll also like to announce on behalf of the IDA head office that the Indian Dental Association and the Ministry of Health, Government of India have collaborated to provide continuing dental education to the dentists all over the country. And the inaugural program for that is being launched on the 3rd of February at 2 p.m. So I invite all of you to come and attend this program. This will be a unique opportunity when the Ministry of Health will be taking the initiative to address the dental surgeons. And this will be live on the Facebook page of Indian Dental Association. So there's no registration for this. And in the coming weeks, as more programs come up, we will make you aware of that. And also under the IDA centenary celebrations, we are continuing with our webinars, which we had for some time discontinued. So there will be a program on periodontics on the 7th of February. We'll be sending you the information for that also. So thank you once again, all the wonderful audience. First, of course, that goes to the organizers and the speakers and the wonderful audience who made the program very successful. Thank you so much. And I hand over back to you, Dr. Nakar, if you want to say anything before you close.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for giving us an opportunity. Mahesh, sir, thank you. Shanbag, thank you. And to all the other speakers, Dr. Chaudhary, thank you so much. Dr. Nitin, sorry that you didn't have a proper, there was an audio problem. But anyway, your knowledge on AI is enormous. Doble sir for giving us an opportunity to use the IDEA platform, and to the ICD for again giving us a proper platform. And I hope I didn't miss anybody. And to all the audience, keep watching the extra innings, GSL's extra innings. You have the next program. The next program is on how to file a patent, how to file a copyright, how to go for a trademark. Because this is the era of ideas. Students have beautiful ideas. These ideas should be copyrighted, they should be patented, or anything should be trademarked to make sure that you have the authenticity of that idea. Because these days there's so much of copying being done. So make sure how to do it in the most simplest possible way. You have 3 officials from the Government of India, 2 officials from the Government of India, 1 from the International Agency on Patent and Copyright, and again under the aegis of IDA Head Office, IDA Lakshmipuram, and with the support of ICD under the leadership of Dr. Chugh and Dr. Singh, we will be doing all these webinars by the name Extra Innings. Thank you so much, sir, again for having patiently participated in this event. Again, regards to all of you. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.